If you were handed one piece of advice that could change the entire course of your life, would you listen? The truth is, success is not a secret, it's a direction, and those who follow it with discipline will find themselves living a life others only dream about. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a message not for the faint of heart, but for those who dare to live the life they've always wanted. For centuries, men and women have searched for the secret of success, as though it were a treasure hidden far away. Yet the truth is astonishingly simple. We become what we think about most of the time. That is the best advice for massive success. Guard your mind, for it is the workshop of your destiny. Think for a moment about the farmer. He has a choice: plant corn or plant nothing. If he sows good seed and tends to it daily, he reaps an abundant harvest. If he neglects the soil or allows weeds to grow, he reaps failure. Your mind is the same field. Sow thoughts of purpose, confidence, and faith, and your life will bring forth the fruits of success. Sow doubt, fear, and idleness, and failure will arrive as naturally as night follows day. The first step toward massive success is to decide once and for all what it is you want. Not what others expect of you, not what society tells you is respectable, but what truly ignites your soul. Write it down, see it clearly in your mind, and commit yourself to it with unshakable determination. For the man who knows where he is going is already halfway there. The second step is discipline. Dreams without discipline remain wishes, and wishes never built cities, businesses, or legacies. Get up a little earlier, stay focused a little longer. Do the work even when the excitement fades, because success belongs not to those who start quickly, but to those who persist when enthusiasm is gone. The third step is persistence in the face of setbacks. Every great success story is written with chapters of failure. The difference between those who quit and those who succeed is not talent, luck, or connections. It is the decision to keep moving forward. Remember, this temporary defeat is not permanent failure unless you accept it as such. The final step is constant growth. Never stop learning, never stop stretching yourself beyond what feels comfortable. A man who refuses to grow is already beginning to decline. Read, study, seek mentors, and above all, remain a student of life. The best advice for massive success can be summarized in one timeless truth: a person becomes what they think about most of the time. Hold this in your heart and let it guide your every action. And now, here is your call to action starting today. Take 10 minutes to write down exactly what you want your life to look like. Read it every morning and every night. Then act as though it were already true. Step boldly, persist through difficulty, and refuse to settle for less than your very best. Because success is not reserved for the chosen few. It is reserved for the few who choose. Success begins with clarity of purpose, because without a clear destination, even the most talented and hardworking individuals find themselves wandering in circles, expending energy yet never arriving anywhere meaningful. Purpose is the compass that gives direction to effort, the light that cuts through confusion, and the anchor that steadies you when storms arise. A man who knows why he wakes up each morning possesses a strength that no obstacle can fully break, while a man without purpose drifts, swayed by every distraction, every trend, and every opinion of others. Clarity of purpose is not about chasing every opportunity, but about discerning the right opportunity, the one aligned with your deepest values and vision. Think of the archer drawing back his bow. His skill means nothing if he has no target in sight. He may release arrow after arrow, but without aim, all his effort is wasted. In the same way, many people go through life busy, active, and seemingly productive, but because they lack clarity, their actions scatter in all directions. Success is not measured by motion, but by progress toward a defined end. Clarity sharpens your focus, ensuring that every step you take moves you closer to your true goal rather than further away from it. Purpose provides discipline, because when you know what matters, you also know what does not. Distractions lose their power when measured against a higher mission. A man with clarity does not waste his time comparing himself with others, because he knows where he is headed. He may walk a road that others do not understand, but his vision sustains him. Every decision becomes simpler when weighed against the standard of purpose. The question is no longer, do I feel like doing this? But, does this serve the vision I have committed to? That single question is enough to cut through doubt, hesitation, and temptation. Clarity of purpose also brings endurance. The journey to success is long and often difficult, and those without a firm sense of why they are traveling quickly abandon the road. But the individual who is crystal clear on his purpose draws energy from it even in times of fatigue. He sees setbacks not as final defeats, but as lessons guiding him closer to his destination. Because he knows what he is striving for, his spirit cannot be broken by temporary obstacles. Purpose transforms struggle into meaning and pain into progress. Success built on clarity is not fragile because it is rooted in authenticity. To live with purpose is to live in alignment with who you truly are, not in imitation of others or in pursuit of shallow rewards. Wealth, recognition, and status may come, but they are not the goal. They are byproducts of pursuing something greater. Real clarity is not about having everything figured out in a single moment, but about making a firm decision to walk a path that resonates deeply with your soul, and to walk it with persistence and faith. Your thoughts shape your reality because the mind is the unseen architect of every experience you encounter and every result you achieve. What you consistently dwell upon eventually finds expression in your actions, your habits, and ultimately your circumstances. A person who entertains thoughts of fear, limitation, and doubt will unconsciously act in ways that reinforce those very limitations, while the one who cultivates thoughts of confidence, abundance, and possibility will act in harmony with success. Life does not hand us what we casually wish for. It hands us what we consistently expect through the patterns of our thinking. Consider for a moment the power of expectation. If a man believes he cannot succeed, he will approach opportunities half-heartedly expecting to fail, and his lack of belief will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, if he holds firmly in his mind the belief that he will succeed, even in the face of obstacles, he approaches each challenge with energy, persistence, and creativity, which vastly increases his chances of turning difficulty into achievement. The outer world becomes a reflection of the inner world. It is not magic, but the law of cause and effect. Thoughts are causes, and results are their inevitable effects. Your dominant thoughts act like a magnet, drawing into your life people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with them. If you think often about growth, learning, and success, you will begin to notice chances for advancement that others overlook. You will attract mentors, resources, and ideas that push you forward. This is not coincidence, but the simple reality that the mind filters experience according to its focus. Whatever you concentrate on expands, and whatever you ignore diminishes. The man who thinks only of problems sees problems everywhere, while the one who trains his mind to look for solutions sees possibilities where others see only dead ends. Thoughts also shape character. Every action is born first in the mind. A man who entertains thoughts of generosity becomes generous in practice. A man who feeds thoughts of resentment becomes bitter in habit. The more often you think a certain way, the more natural it becomes, until it is part of your identity. Success is not an event, but a reflection of the person you have gradually become through the thoughts you have chosen to think daily. The person who disciplines his mind to focus on faith, courage, and perseverance eventually embodies these qualities, and they become the foundation of his achievements. This truth places a tremendous responsibility on each of us. We cannot control every event in life, but we can control the thoughts we allow to dominate our minds. By taking charge of this inner environment, we take charge of our destiny. To shape your reality, you must first shape your thoughts, because what you hold in your mind with consistency, whether fear or faith, whether doubt or belief, is the seed from which the harvest of your life will inevitably grow. Discipline turns dreams into plans and plans into results, because without discipline, even the brightest vision remains only an illusion of possibility. Dreams are the sparks of imagination that ignite the desire for something greater, but they require structure and consistency to take shape in the real world. A dream without discipline is like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the wind blows, never arriving at a meaningful destination. Discipline is the bridge between the thought of success and the reality of success, the invisible force that transforms intention into action and action into achievement. When a person sets a goal, it is discipline that determines whether that goal becomes a living reality or fades away like countless forgotten resolutions. Every plan demands effort, consistency, and sacrifice. It requires doing what must be done not only when inspiration is high, but especially when enthusiasm has faded and the work feels difficult. Discipline is the ability to stay the course, to resist the urge of immediate comfort in favor of long-term reward. It is the quiet daily practice of aligning your behavior with your vision, and over time, it builds a foundation strong enough to hold the weight of success. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is rarely intelligence or talent, it is discipline. Many dream, few act. Many start, few persist. Discipline is the separating line, the deciding factor. The disciplined individual does not wait for perfect conditions because he understands that progress begins with consistent effort, not ideal circumstances. Each small act of discipline compounds over time, creating momentum, and momentum eventually creates results. Just as water drop by drop can carve a stone, disciplined action day by day shapes the life you envision. Discipline is not a restriction, but a liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of impulse, from the control of distraction, and from the weight of regret. The undisciplined man lives in reaction to whatever calls for his attention in the moment, but the disciplined man lives with intention, choosing his actions according to his plan. He is no longer a slave to mood or environment because he has committed himself to something greater than temporary feelings. This strength of self-command is the very essence of personal freedom, for the one who masters himself is never mastered by the world around him. Dreams are fragile until they are backed by discipline. It is discipline that writes the pages of the book, builds the foundation of the business, completes the training, and keeps the vision alive through seasons of doubt. Discipline turns the invisible into the visible, the imagined into the actual. It ensures that what began as a dream becomes a plan, and that the plan, when executed with perseverance, produces tangible results. This is the law of achievement. Desire ignites the dream. Clarity defines the plan, but only discipline delivers the outcome. Success requires persistence when others give up because the road to any meaningful achievement is filled with obstacles, delays, and disappointments that test the strength of one's resolve. Most people begin with enthusiasm, fueled by the excitement of a new goal, but enthusiasm alone does not carry a person to the finish line. It is persistence, the decision to continue despite fatigue, doubt, and difficulty, that separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. The path to success is not a straight line but a series of trials that demand endurance, and only those who refuse to quit discover the reward waiting at the end. When others give up, it is usually not because they lack the ability, but because they surrendered to discouragement. They misinterpreted temporary setbacks as permanent defeat. The truth is, every worthwhile pursuit comes with resistance, and the greater the goal, the stronger the resistance. Persistence is the antidote to that resistance, the unwavering determination that says, "I will not stop until I reach what I set out to achieve." Each time persistence pushes you forward when circumstances urge you to quit, you build strength of character, and that strength becomes the foundation of your success. Consider the stories of great inventors, leaders, and pioneers. None of them achieved greatness without facing failure again and again. Thomas Edison made thousands of unsuccessful attempts before perfecting the light bulb, yet he famously remarked that each failure was not wasted. It was a step closer to the solution. That mindset is persistence in action, a refusal to interpret failure as final. Success often arrives just beyond the point where most people turn back. The man who persists discovers opportunities invisible to the one who gave up too soon. Persistence is not stubbornness without wisdom. It is the steady application of effort guided by purpose. It may require adjusting methods, learning new skills, or trying alternative approaches, but the core decision to keep moving remains unshaken. Persistence transforms rejection into resilience, obstacles into lessons, and setbacks into stepping stones. Every challenge endured strengthens resolve, and every hour of effort compounds until it yields results that once seemed out of reach. The reason persistence is rare is because it is difficult. It demands patience in a world addicted to speed. It demands faith in moments when no evidence of progress is visible. It demands courage when doubt whispers that failure is inevitable. Yet precisely because it is rare, persistence is the quality that ensures extraordinary success. When others fall away, the one who remains steady and determined becomes the one who reaps the reward. Success is not about being the fastest or the luckiest, it is about refusing to quit when others do. Persistence is the quiet force that carries you through long nights, repeated failures, and endless obstacles until the goal is finally within reach. It is the trait that ensures that effort is never wasted, that every struggle has meaning, and that the finish line belongs only to those who keep moving forward no matter how difficult the journey becomes. Growth demands risk and responsibility because no person can rise to a higher level while clinging to comfort and safety. To grow is to step beyond the familiar, to face uncertainty, and to carry the weight of choices that shape not only your future but often the lives of those around you. Risk is the price of progress, and responsibility is the measure of maturity. Together, they form the conditions under which true growth becomes possible. Without them, life remains small, predictable, and stagnant, but with them, it expands into realms of possibility that would otherwise remain hidden. Risk is unavoidable for anyone seeking to achieve something worthwhile. The man who avoids risk in the name of security often discovers he has settled for mediocrity, for security itself is an illusion. Markets change, jobs disappear, and circumstances shift beyond our control. The one who learns to embrace risk wisely understands that every step into the unknown carries both danger and opportunity. To attempt something new, to build a business, to pursue a dream, or to stand for an idea, these are risks, but they are also the gateways to growth. Without risk, potential remains unrealized, and possibility remains only a shadow. Responsibility is the counterpart of risk. To grow is not merely to seize opportunity, but to own the consequences of the choices you make. Many shrink from responsibility because it demands accountability, discipline, and sacrifice. Yet it is responsibility that develops strength of character. A man who accepts responsibility no longer blames circumstances, luck, or other people for his condition. He recognizes that while he cannot control everything, he can always control his response, his decisions, and his actions. This acceptance of responsibility transforms weakness into power because it places the direction of life firmly in his own hands. Every stage of growth requires greater responsibility. A child depends on others, but an adult carries duties that extend beyond himself. Leaders, innovators, and creators accept risks that others avoid, and they carry responsibilities that others resist. It is precisely because they shoulder these burdens that they grow beyond the ordinary and achieve the extraordinary. With each new level of responsibility comes a new level of growth, for the weight you willingly carry strengthens you, just as the resistance of weights strengthens the body. Growth will never come from avoiding risk or escaping responsibility. It comes from stepping forward, even when fear whispers of failure, and saying, "I accept the challenge." Every advancement in history, every breakthrough in science, every act of courage that changed the course of lives was made possible because someone was willing to risk what was safe and take responsibility for what followed. Those who dare to carry this double burden discover that growth is not something that happens to them. It is something they choose through deliberate action. Risk stretches your courage, responsibility deepens your character, and together they form the path to genuine growth. The individual who embraces both rises above comfort, above fear, and above limitation, finding not only success but also the strength of becoming more than he was before. You become what you consistently think about because the mind is the soil in which the seeds of your future are planted, and whatever you allow to take root there will eventually grow into the circumstances of your life. Every dominant thought, whether constructive or destructive, shapes your actions, influences your habits, and carves the direction of your destiny. A person who fills his mind with thoughts of confidence, determination, and possibility gradually aligns his behavior with those ideas until they become his reality, while a person who entertains fear, doubt, and limitation will unconsciously act in ways that make those thoughts come true. The mind is never idle, it is always at work, weaving images, expectations, and beliefs into the framework of your daily life. If you think consistently about success, you begin to notice opportunities, take initiative, and persist when obstacles appear. If you think consistently about failure, you hesitate, miss chances, and quit at the first sign of resistance. Your thoughts act as instructions to your subconscious, programming your behavior long before you realize it. The outer conditions of your life are nothing more than a reflection of the inner pictures you have allowed to dominate your imagination. Consider the power of repetition. A single thought may pass through the mind without impact, but a thought repeated daily gains momentum, shaping attitudes and beliefs. If you tell yourself often enough that you are capable, resourceful, and resilient, you will begin to act with greater confidence and resilience. If you repeat to yourself that you are unlucky, powerless, or destined to fail, you will unconsciously sabotage your own progress. The truth is not what you casually think once, but what you habitually think always. What occupies your mind most of the time is what you will inevitably become. Great achievements are first victories of the mind. Before an athlete breaks a record, he has already visualized the finish line countless times. Before an inventor creates a new device, he has already built it in his imagination. The picture held steadily in the mind becomes a blueprint that guides action, and action guided by such clarity rarely fails to bring results. The person who disciplines himself to think deliberately, to choose thoughts of strength, faith, and courage, lays the foundation for a life that reflects those qualities. This truth carries both a warning and a promise. The warning is that negative thinking will just as surely build a negative reality as positive thinking builds a positive one. If you allow worry, fear, or envy to dominate your thoughts, they will become the forces shaping your future. The promise is that by consciously directing your thoughts toward your vision, your values, and your highest goals, you can transform your life from the inside out. You become what you consistently think about because thought is the origin of everything. Guard your mind, choose your focus, and understand that every great life begins not with chance or luck but with the quiet, persistent discipline of thinking rightly about who you are and who you are becoming. Time is your most valuable asset. Invest it wisely because unlike money, possessions, or opportunities, once it is gone, it can never be replaced. Every day you are handed the same 24 hours as the wealthiest individual or the most accomplished leader, and how you choose to use those hours determines the quality and direction of your life. Success is not built on chance but on the accumulation of wisely spent moments, each one a brick in the foundation of achievement. A person who understands the value of time treats it with the respect it deserves, while one who squanders it in idleness or distraction wakes one day to find that the years have slipped away with little to show for them. Time does not wait for anyone. It moves with relentless consistency, indifferent to whether you use it or waste it. This truth can be either a burden or a blessing. For those who neglect its value, time becomes a thief, robbing them of potential and possibility. For those who invest it wisely, time becomes an ally, compounding effort into results, just as money compounds into wealth when invested carefully. Every small, consistent use of time in the pursuit of growth and purpose multiplies over the months and years into extraordinary success. Consider how much of life is lost not to major failures but to unnoticed waste. Hours slip away in meaningless distractions, idle conversations, or pursuits that add no real value. When multiplied across weeks, months, and years, these moments add up to vast stretches of lost opportunity. Yet those same hours, if invested in learning, creating, building, and refining, could transform the entire course of one's life. The difference between mediocrity and greatness is often nothing more than how one chooses to spend the same measure of time. The wise understand that time must be budgeted with the same care as money. Each day requires choices: what to focus on, what to eliminate, and what to prioritize. To invest time wisely is to align it with your highest goals and deepest values. It means asking not, "What do I feel like doing right now?" but rather, "What use of this hour will bring me closer to the life I want?" With that perspective, distractions lose their grip, procrastination loses its appeal, and focus becomes the natural outcome. The most successful individuals are not those with more talent, but those who use their time with purpose. They rise early, they set aside hours for study, they practice their craft, they take consistent steps toward their vision. They understand that the minutes of today are the seeds of tomorrow's harvest, and so they guard them carefully. To waste time is to waste life itself, for time is the very substance of existence. Time is your most valuable asset because it is the one resource you can never earn back once it is gone. To invest it wisely is to honor the gift of life, to trade each hour not for comfort or distraction, but for growth, progress, and the building of a future worthy of the time you were given. Learn from failure, but never live in it, because failure, though unpleasant, is one of life's greatest teachers. Every misstep, every disappointment, every setback carries within it the seed of insight that, if recognized, can lead to future success. To fail is not to be defeated, it is to be given information about what does not work, about what must be improved, about what must be done differently next time. Yet many make the mistake of allowing failure to define them. Instead of extracting the lesson and moving forward, they live in the shadow of what went wrong, replaying mistakes in their minds until fear and regret paralyze them. Growth demands that failure be used as a stepping stone, not as a dwelling place. Failure reveals truths that success often hides. It strips away illusions and confronts you with reality. When a plan crumbles, it forces you to examine your preparation, your effort, your strategy, and even your mindset. In this way, failure becomes a mirror, reflecting back the areas where you must grow. The person who studies failure with humility and courage gains wisdom that no book or lecture could ever provide. This wisdom, once applied, becomes the foundation upon which stronger, wiser, and more effective efforts are built. However, the danger lies in mistaking failure for identity. A man may fail at a task, but that does not make him a failure. To live in failure is to adopt it as a label, to allow one event or series of events to dictate your worth. When this happens, ambition withers, courage fades, and life becomes a prison of self-doubt. The truth is that failure is never final unless you choose to make it so. Every successful person in history has faced failure, often repeatedly, yet they refused to let it define them. They took the lesson, adjusted their approach, and tried again. That cycle of falling, learning, and rising again is the very process of success itself. Failure also builds resilience. Every time you rise after being knocked down, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than circumstances. You develop grit, the kind of inner toughness that cannot be learned in comfort. Over time, these experiences forge a character that does not crumble under pressure, but instead becomes more determined. The individual who refuses to live in failure grows to understand that each setback is temporary, a necessary part of the journey rather than the end of it. To learn from failure is to respect it without surrendering to it. It is to ask, "What is this teaching me?" rather than, "Why did this happen to me?" It is to recognize that behind every error lies the knowledge required to make a wiser attempt. The past cannot be changed, but it can be used, and when it is used well, it becomes a priceless asset rather than a chain of regret. To live in failure is to waste it, but to learn from failure is to transform it into progress. Surround yourself with people who elevate your standards, because the company you keep quietly but powerfully shapes the direction of your life. Human beings naturally adapt to their environment, and the values, habits, and attitudes of those closest to you inevitably influence your own. If you associate with individuals who settle for mediocrity, who complain instead of create, who indulge in excuses rather than effort, you will find yourself adopting the same patterns almost unconsciously. But if you choose to walk with people who aim higher, who expect more from themselves, and who live with discipline and purpose, you cannot help but rise to meet those standards. Your circle acts as a mirror, reflecting back what you allow to be normal. If laziness, gossip, or negativity dominate your environment, those traits begin to feel acceptable, even natural. Conversely, when you surround yourself with people who hold themselves to excellence, who speak of goals instead of problems, and who push forward despite difficulties, your sense of what is possible expands. You begin to see that greater effort, higher ambition, and stronger discipline are not exceptions, but expectations. In this way, your standards are lifted not by force but by example. Great achievements are rarely accomplished in isolation. Behind every leader, innovator, or creator, there are influences, mentors, peers, and companions who demanded more of them than they would have demanded of themselves. Iron sharpens iron, and just as one blade becomes sharper by striking another, a person becomes sharper by the challenge and accountability of strong company. The conversations you hear, the ideas you are exposed to, and the encouragement you receive from the right people create an environment where growth feels natural and mediocrity feels intolerable. Choosing your company wisely is not about arrogance or exclusion, but about alignment. You must ask, do the people around me push me to rise, or do they keep me where I am? Friends who care about you will not allow you to waste your potential. They will remind you of your goals when you forget. They will challenge your excuses when you make them, and they will celebrate your progress not with envy but with genuine joy. Such people are rare, but once you find them, they are invaluable. At the same time, elevating your standards also means becoming the kind of person who lifts others. It is not enough to seek good company, you must also strive to be good company. When you hold yourself to higher expectations, you inspire those around you to rise as well. In this way, the process becomes mutual, a circle of accountability and inspiration where each person fuels the growth of the other. Surrounding yourself with people who elevate your standards is not a luxury but a necessity. Your environment shapes your future more than your intentions do. By choosing to walk with those who live at a higher level, you inevitably pull yourself upward, and in time, you too become a standard for others to reach toward. The greatest investment you'll ever make is in yourself, because everything you achieve, everything you create, and everything you contribute to the world flows from the person you become. Wealth may be gained and lost, possessions may fade, and circumstances may change, but the knowledge, skills, and character you build within yourself remain with you wherever you go. When you commit to developing your mind, strengthening your body, refining your habits, and cultivating your character, you create an inner wealth that no downturn, disaster, or misfortune can take away. Investing in yourself begins with the mind. What you feed your mind determines the quality of your thoughts, and your thoughts shape the quality of your life. Reading, studying, listening, and seeking knowledge sharpen your perception and broaden your understanding. The person who constantly learns remains adaptable in a changing world, while the one who neglects growth is left behind. A single new idea, when applied, can alter the course of your life, but such ideas come only to the mind that has been prepared to receive them. Equally important is the investment in discipline and habits. The most brilliant idea or the greatest talent remains dormant without consistent effort. When you invest in building habits of focus, persistence, and order, you multiply the power of everything else you possess. Small actions repeated daily compound into extraordinary outcomes. The disciplined person is not dependent on bursts of motivation. He has built within himself a system that carries him forward regardless of mood or circumstance. Physical well-being is also part of investing in yourself. A sharp mind cannot function fully in a neglected body. Strength, energy, and vitality give you the capacity to pursue your goals with intensity and endurance. Caring for your health is not vanity but wisdom, for it ensures that you have the stamina to carry your vision into reality. The person who invests in health is not only preparing for longevity but also for productivity and resilience in every moment. Beyond knowledge, habits, and health lies the deepest investment of all, character. Success without integrity is fragile and fleeting. To invest in yourself is to cultivate honesty, responsibility, humility, and courage. These qualities form the foundation upon which trust is built, and trust is the currency of lasting influence and achievement. A man of character attracts opportunities, relationships, and respect that money alone could never purchase. The greatest investment you'll ever make is in yourself because it multiplies in every area of life. When you grow, your relationships grow, your career expands, your influence widens, and your contribution deepens. Every dollar, every hour, and every ounce of effort you devote to becoming better returns to you 100-fold in opportunities, experiences, and fulfillment. To invest in yourself is not selfish. It is the most responsible act you can take, for in strengthening yourself, you increase your ability to serve others and to create a life of true value. The path to massive success is not hidden, nor is it reserved for the fortunate few. It is open to anyone willing to walk it with clarity, discipline, persistence, and courage. Success begins with a definite purpose, for without direction, no effort can bear lasting fruit. It is shaped by the thoughts you hold most often, for the mind is the architect of reality. It is built by discipline, which transforms dreams into plans and plans into results. It requires persistence when others abandon the journey, and it demands the willingness to take risks and accept responsibility for the outcome. Along the way, you become the reflection of your dominant thoughts, and time, the most valuable asset you possess, becomes the currency through which those thoughts are turned into reality. Failure will meet you, as it meets every man and woman who strives for something great, but it is not a sentence. It is a lesson, a teacher that strengthens those who learn from it and weakens only those who choose to live in it. Growth accelerates when you choose to surround yourself with people who expect more of you, who challenge you to rise, and who refuse to let you settle for mediocrity. And at the heart of it all lies the greatest investment you can ever make, the investment in yourself. Massive success is not the product of chance or luck, but of deliberate choices made day by day, hour by hour. It belongs to those who take control of their thoughts, who master their habits, who honor their time, and who never surrender to defeat. The truth is timeless. You become what you consistently think about, and what you consistently act upon becomes your destiny. Now the choice is yours. Will you drift with the crowd, pulled in every direction by distraction and doubt, or will you seize hold of your purpose, invest in yourself, and commit to the daily disciplines that lead to greatness? The advice is simple, but its power is unmatched. Decide what you want, think about it often, and move toward it persistently until it becomes reality. The road is clear and the time is now.